What is going on, you guys? It's Xander. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be discussing UFC 293. We're only going to be really talking about the last two fights of the card because this fight card is absolutely atrocious. The last fight card, UFC 292, was bad. This one makes it look like an all-timer fight card. This fight card is terrible. Really bad. Where I only realistically care about like a few of the fights on the card. But we're only going to talk about the co-main and the main event because I don't want to make this video too long, and I feel like you guys don't really care about the other fights all that much to see a prediction. Plus, MMA Guru is going to probably talk about the whole card anyway and give us a full in-depth breakdown. Shout out to him, by the way. I'm just going to be talking about the main fights that need to be talked about, which is the main event and co-main event, so I don't go like over 20 minutes. So let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to start with the main event right off the gate. Sean Strickland versus Israel Adesanya. This fight, I'm like on the edge of like being excited for it just because Israel Adesanya, we all know, when he has an exciting fight, he's tend to have like 3 boring fights in a row. That's just how he is nowadays. Before champ, Israel Adesanya is the best Israel Adesanya because he was actually taking risks. He was actually having entertaining fights. But ever since he's become the champion, he's been having boring fights. Obviously, his last 2 fights were great. Alex Pereira is great. And there's a reason for that. I'm going to give you my reason why I feel like this fight is going to be pretty boring, in my honest opinion. The reason why I think this fight is going to be boring compared to, his Alex Pereira fight, Alex Pereira is a huge threat to Israel Adesanya. He has power. He's probably a better striker. You can make the argument that he's a better striker than Israel Adesanya. He's a lot more stronger, a lot more powerful, has more knockout power than Israel Adesanya. That's why that fight was, I feel like Izzy had to take more chances in that fight because he needed to get to Pereira first before Pereira got to him. And, obviously in that first fight between him and Pereira, he was very attentive at first, but he was throwing. That was a very entertaining fight. And Izzy was putting on Izzy was doing great in that fight. I mean, he was winning that fight up until the final round, and obviously he got finished. And then in the second fight, you saw what happened. A beautiful counter punch, 1-2 combination, and put him out. Sean Strickland is not really all that threatening compared to Alex Pereira, especially on the feet. Strickland will have to use his grappling to kind of make it some sort of a threat for Izzy. Because Izzy is not going to be threatened by the striking of Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland obviously has solid striking, but Izzy is just a whole nother level compared to him when it comes to the striking department. Izzy, he kicks at range. He makes sure that he has a good distance away from his fighters. That's why in his last few fights against guys like Marvin Vettori and guys like Jared Cannonier, guys who he's a lot bigger than, he likes to keep them at range so he doesn't get in striking distance with them. And I feel like that's what he's going to do in this fight, and that's why I feel like this fight is going to be kind of boring. I think he's going to dominate this fight, and I think he's going to win a 49-46 decision victory over Sean Strickland. And that's just how it is. When he faces a guy who is a lot smaller than him, that's what he tends to do. He did that, like I said, against Cannonier, against Marvin Vettori. He did that in the second fight against him and Robert Whittaker. He's just kicking at range, making sure that they don't get close whatsoever. And when he gets close, obviously they're going to try and shoot for a takedown, which was Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker was shooting for takedowns, and he was getting them. But, when they got close, that was the only time they were able to get close, is to grapple. And I feel like that's what Sean Strickland has to do. But I got a feeling he's not going to do that. Maybe at first he's not going to do that, but then when he sees that he's not getting any type of success on the feet, he's going to probably try and use his grappling to try and win some rounds against Israel Adesanya, but I don't think it's going to work. I think Izzy's takedown defense to me is pretty good, and I don't find Sean Strickland to be as good as a grappler as other guys in the division. I feel obviously he can use his grappling to take Izzy down, but I doubt that that's going to happen. I think Izzy's going to dominate this fight pretty much for the most part. And I think he's going to win. I think Izzy's going to win a unanimous decision victory. I think people are going to be very upset after this, including myself, because I don't want to watch a boring main event again with Izzy. Because Izzy's last 2 fights were spectacular. They were great fights. I don't want this fight to happen and then I'm fucking falling asleep at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Or whatever time this is going to be happening. I think this is actually happening. Is this going to be happening at a decent time for me? Let's see. It says 10 p.m. So maybe it will actually be happening at a good... Well, I mean, it's going to be happening at the time that that usually fight cards happen in the East Coast. So anyway, but that, like I said, I think Izzy is going to bore us. I think that, you know, we're due for boring Izzy fights. I think we're just due. So I'm going to go with the unanimous decision victory, and Israel Adesanya will remain as the champion, and we'll see what happens next. I'm assuming that he will fight Adriscus, or he will do maybe a trilogy fight between him and Alex Pereira. But other than that, that's pretty much it. I think Sean Strickland doesn't have enough, in my opinion. He's not convincing me that he's going to pose a threat to Izzy whatsoever on the feet or even on the ground. So I'm going to go with Izzy via unanimous decision. Let's get into the co-main event real quick. Tai Tuivasa versus Alexander Volkov. Now, Tai Tuivasa obviously is, I think, on a 2-fight skid. He obviously lost his fight against Ciryl Gane, and then he lost to Pavlovich. But those two guys are top-tier heavyweights. Obviously, Volkov is a great striker, a great fighter. I don't really know. I think I want to go Tai Tuivasa. But Alexander Volkov is obviously going to be careful with the power that Tai Tuivasa has. He's not going to just strike all crazy and stuff like that. I think he's going to try and pretty much keep him at range, just kind of like how Izzy's going to do with Sean Strickland. I think since he's a lot bigger, since Volkov is a lot bigger than Tai Tuivasa, he's going to probably keep him at range and not get him close. He's going to, you know, keep him at bay with the jab, you know, and make sure that he does not get close whatsoever, because Tai Tuivasa can put him out 100%. But you know what? I think I'm going to go Tai Tuivasa. I think Tai Tuivasa is going to take a big risk in this fight. I think he's going to charge in, and he's going to want to land something. Obviously, he has to be careful with Alexander Volkov, because Alexander Volkov can put him out. But I think that Tai Tuivasa is going to charge in, especially in that first round, and I think he's going to clip him with something, and he's going to put him out. And I think Tai Tuivasa is going to get the victory by knockout in the first round. This is obviously a bold pick because he is the underdog in this fight, but Tai Tuivasa's power is spectacular. I mean, the only people that, you know, the last two fighters are fighters who are obviously bigger, and obviously Volkov is a bigger fighter, but those guys also had power as well. Volkov, to me, doesn't have the power of a Ciryl Gane and a Pavlovich. Those guys have a lot of power. While Tai Tuivasa, I don't think Tai Tuivasa is really going to be all that much scared of the power of Volkov. Obviously, he's going to be tentative at first because his last two fights, I mean, he did get knocked out both times in those fights. Pretty badly, too, in both of them. So maybe at first he's going to kind of be tentative, but then he's going to find a moment where he's just going to charge in. And I do believe that he's going to catch Alexander Volkov with something, and I think he's going to put him away. This is obviously a bold decision for me. This is a bold prediction because I could definitely see Volkov just dominate him and possibly hit him with counter something, you know, and knock Tai Tuivasa out. But I'm going to go with Tai Tuivasa, and I really do hope that Tai Tuivasa wins. I'm a big Tai Tuivasa guy. I'm a fan of his because he's obviously so entertaining. All of his fights, even though they really don't last all that long, they're very entertaining. But I'm going to go with Tai Tuivasa getting the knockout victory, and that is pretty much it. Yeah, like I said, this fight card is atrocious. How we were talking about, you know, UFC 292's fight card being bad. This is a pay-per-view. And I mean, dude, you look at the main card. You got Manel Kape versus Felipe Dos Santos, Justin Tafa versus Austin Lane, Tyson Pedro versus Anton Turkov. Like, do you know anybody aside probably like Justin Tafa and maybe Manel Kape? You don't know any of these guys. And listen, be like, oh, dude, you're a casual. This guy is this guy is that. The main cards, you know, UFC has to, you know, they are known for putting really good main cards, you know, and actually having at least 3 of the fights out of the 5 being somewhat interesting. At least with the last fight card we got, we had Marlon Vera versus, I forgot the guy. Oh my God. I'm drawing a blank. You had the main events, then you had the co-main event with Zhang Weili and I think Amanda Lemos, I believe. And then you had Neil Magny and Ian Gary. There you go. God, I'm losing my fucking mind right now. You know, at least you had some people who are somewhat known in the stratosphere. I understand. Listen, these guys will be great on the prelims, on the early prelims. This is a main card that you are charging over $80 for people to buy. You know, this is fucking ridiculous. The fact that, we got Manel Cap, I don't know if I'm saying his name, versus Felipe Dos Santos. And Felipe Dos Santos, I'm on the UFC page right now. He doesn't even have a picture. He does not have a picture. And he's on the main card. So how the fuck am I supposed to know who this is and care about this fight if he doesn't even have a picture? You gotta be kidding me. Like, this is ridiculous. This is a horrible fight card. And we should be we should be shitting on this fight card like how we did UFC 292, because that fight card wasn't all that great either. But it was a lot better than this one. This is a dog shit. Aside the main event, because Izzy's a big name. You know what I mean? This is a horrible fight card. Besides the co-main event and main event. This is a disgusting fight card. So, that's all I got to say about that. I kind of want to rant at the end there a little bit about the fight card, because this fight card is atrocious. I mean, the fact that they're charging us that much money. ESPN is charging us insurmountable amounts of money to watch this fight card is ridiculous. But anyway, I'm done. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys soon with another video. Peace.